Lesson number 7 now begins with us in Matthew chapter 4. If you will notice, the way that I'm going to do this is to give you kind of the verses that we'll concentrate on in yellow, but I don't want us to negate what happens in other places. I'll do my best to try to bring up what's happening in these parallel passages, but even if I don't in the actual class, you've got them in your notes. So what's taking place in Matthew chapter 4, verse 17? Okay, His public ministry, if you will notice, beginning in Matthew chapter 4 and verse 12 down through verse 16, it kind of sets the stage now for all of this that's going to start happening. And then in verse 17, Matthew says, from that time, what happens? Okay, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So the whole idea, particularly in Luke, he talks about how he begins to preach with the power of the Spirit. So how is this power of the Spirit beginning to work? How's the power of the Spirit working? Jesus is going to begin, of course, in John 2, we already had what? The first of His miracles. But now as He gets to Galilee, I want to say that the part of His ministry where He's going to be healing and doing miracles begins, but it has already begun. But here it's really, really going to ratchet up. This is the what? The power of the Spirit. Yes, this is the power of the Spirit. Acts chapter 10, verse 38, I think, comes in and supplements that Jesus went about doing all of these good things. How? Through the power of the Spirit. So the Father, the Son, and the Spirit are all integrated together in the work that's being done here in Galilee, and really through all of Jesus' earthly ministry. So He begins to preach, repent, for the kingdom is at hand. So let's go to Mark chapter 1 and note what Mark says. Mark chapter 1 and looking in verses 14 and 15. Now again, Mark adds something very unique, very interesting, just like Matthew, just like Luke. So Mark chapter 1, beginning in verse 14, a lot of the times, to be honest with you guys, a lot of the times in all of these lessons previous, we have looked at a single account, like in John 1, 2, 3, 4. There have been no parallels. Now we reach the point where there's parallels all over the place, and there's going to continue to be parallels pretty much all the way to the end. So when you have these notes, read these different passages that are involving themselves in it. But Mark chapter 1, verse 14, now after John was put in prison, now, and we said that the work of John lasted somewhere upwards of 18 months. If it did last as long as 18 months, he begins somewhere roughly 6 months before Jesus did. Then we get to about a year into Jesus' public ministry. So he's preaching the gospel of the kingdom of heaven. We'll look at next time, which will not be next Sunday, the Sunday after. We'll look at next time exactly what that preaching of the kingdom would mean, and then also about repent and believe in the gospel. Very interesting. Okay, that'll be next time.